speak moron as well as you, but let me try.
What the hell is supposed to do, you moron?
It's a moron. That's not against the law.
Gun! You fucking moron!
Stuff like Batman.
Because he is Batman, you moron.
What are you, a fucking moron?
You moron. Drop dead. Moron.
Whoa!
Up here, you morons.
Stepping morons like yourself.
Me down, you moron! Hey, moron!
Will I count as how we normally do it, or will we revert back to Daniel's discussion that he was doing last week of starting?
What did I do last week?
Just fucking started along, stealing my lines and trying to pretend you were me.
No, I did you a good evening bit, because I did that the first time and it was just me. I thought that was funny.
We go, good evening, fellow morons. How are we all doing?
All good.
Fine,
Good.
fine.
Good.
I bet he's missed me and he's glad to have me back. I am now back, not quite COVID-free. I still have COVID, but I'm past my isolation time and I feel much better. So glad to be back. Thank you for stepping in, Daniel. Even though we did have to cut a big section off of the first take that he's done with Burnsy using some language that should not be repeated throughout the podcast, but we will have that to share whenever we want to share it online, just to have a go at him. It's unsavoury to say the least. The reviews last week of White Men Can't Jump hitting our top 20, coming in at 19th with a 4.15. The revelations of Sean's basketball career coming up as well, which I've waited until we've started to record to throw out there, boys, that I spoke to a fellow schoolman of a school colleague of Sean, who
A schoolman.
what do you call it? What do you call it? A fellow child at the time he went to school who disputed Sean's claims of being a basketball player.
Is this said person, said St Mungo's alumni, a giant?
Yes.
Who plays
Yes.
basketball.
Yeah. Someone who
also who never went to basketball club, so I don't know what he's talking about.
Oh,
So well, it was disputed as absolute nonsense coming from Mr. Friel, and there must have been good storytelling.
All right, okay. It's no like him to say black when I say white, is it? You know what I mean?
That is very true.
The more shocking thing about this is that our friend who is 6'9", why was he not in basketball club? Surely
He must have been too tall to get in. Must have been an advantage.
He didn't get along with the teacher who ran basketball club, and I'm not going to go into reasons as to why he didn't get along with him.
Was that Father Gerald?
Who's Father Gerald?
Is this a spotlight type scenario?
No.
I genuinely thought that's where you were going.
Why would I be in a basketball club with a paedophile?
I don't know.
Well, guys, we've got 3 minutes into today's recording where the first nonce reference has happened. So let's swiftly move on from that. Sean can discuss that offline with his fellow school colleague, friend, pupil, whatever you want to call it. But I did really enjoy listening to the basketball stories, and I reckon I'd still beat Sean.
No, if there's only one way to find out how good I actually am. Bear in mind, I've not played basketball in years, so it'll take a few layups to get my rhythm back. But I'm more than happy to go down the sports complex and shoot some hoops.
I think you should write a few teams asking for a trial, Sean, and then we can come and watch you. That would be better.
What was that?
You should write to a few teams and see if you can get a trial, and we'll come and watch you. That'd be awesome.
I've got a bit of a gut now, so I can't just rock up and try and get into the Falkirk Cosmos. I need to go and put some practice on the court again. I need to get in shape.
We need to do something about this, right? So we need to either set up some sort of 2-on-2 with us, or get Dave involved. Now, I feel now Dave should be involved, and we get 3 teams of 2 for the White Men Can't Jump 2-on-2 tournament.
That's
I
another
can
that, but it's
guarantee
a
I'll be
good
the
idea.
worst there. So.
We've been trying to organise a game of poker for 6 months. So makes sense we're going to get a game of basketball on the go.
Within 6 months now.
6 years. What about the AGM? We've still got the AGM to do actually for the fantasy. We'll do it, the AGM, the poker, and the basketball. We can make a day of it.
Aye, sounds good.
Death
I'd probably vote for that.
Pool went well, eh? That was good, the Death Pool.
Death pool. That lasted about a week.
I think everyone's still alive for it.
No, do you know what's funny? Big Andy, my mate, he picked Bern Sawyer. And we all just decided halfway through, let's just spend all the money on Pecora and like starters for the Indian because we thought nobody would win, and then he fucking won. So we're like,
oh well,
sorry, Andy.
Tell him thanks for the Pecora, mate. Appreciated. Well, it was a really enjoyable story. It was quite funny sitting in the background here, listening to it and typing away and chipping in when I could. But I top 20 to come back to my original point, and then. Cool Hand Luke, one of the most disappointing movies I've watched in a very long time, scoring a 2.4, coming in at 81st, alongside such blockbuster movies like Hocus Pocus. So yeah, guys, it was a really good listen to last week, and a welcome break from my talking for a while. But this week we have got Boys in the Hood and Back to the Future. Can you remind me what the category was that landed us with these two movies?
It was
2000.
But then the one we came up with was we picked a movie from every year from 99 backwards. So we had 16 films. I think the earliest was 84.
Okay. So Boys in the Hood, we will talk about first of all. Boys in the Hood came out in 1991. Follows the life of 3 young males living in the Crenshaw ghetto of Los Angeles, dissecting questions of race, relationships, violence, and future prospects. We're going to come to our Mr. Knowledge, Burnsy, who's going to kick us off with his thoughts on Boys in the Hood, which I'm assuming is a first watch.
Yeah. I think I'd even heard that, so.
It's a rhetorical question, usually, Burnsy.
You've been completely shocked if I said I had.
See, if you said aye, they just ended the podcast like, fuck it.
Kick me off. I going into it, I thought I was gonna not enjoy it. I think it was okay for me. I thought the film did a good way of taking you on a journey with Trey, and I thought the actor was class throughout it. At the start, where he has to when he's obviously as a school child or a pupil or whatever nonsense that you came up with earlier, Kel, for what his friend would be called. But it was. I didn't expect him to obviously change, have to go and stay with his father and whatever, but I think that definitely helped the film. If you just had him living with his mother, it wouldn't have progressed in the same way, even if she was in the same neighbourhood as what it turned out his father was living in. I thought his dad was also very good throughout it. Obviously taught him, tried to teach him life lessons, and you got a bit of insight into his home life until obviously it skips 7 years into the future, which when that happened, I was kind of like, I don't like films that I think it was Hunter was talking last week how you want more and more background about films and characters. So when that happened, I was thinking I'm going to enjoy this more because it's just skipping that many years. But I think how the film progressed, that definitely helped. You wouldn't have probably got that much out of it. Just you wouldn't have got much of having like a wee bit in each year or something like that. So I think when it went through that far into the future as well, is quite often in films I get confused about who's who, whereas in the scene where they've got the barbecue, the film did a really good way of reminding you who was who just by saying each other's names and things like that. It was something so simple, but I didn't feel lost at any stage of it. Gave you a good insight into his personal life with his girlfriend and also how his brothers, how Ricky's brother and him are the guy Ricky, and I can't remember what his brother's name was, but how those two are sort of polar opposites.
Doughboy.
That's it. I thought I did kind of quite enjoy it. I think like the gang culture films and that, they're not really for me, and I did think the film was quite dated. It did feel as if it was, say, was it 20 years ago, longer than that, 30 years ago.
Yeah,
maybe?
Oh,
30.
yeah.
I did feel as if it was kind of quite, it was quite dated. The bit I thought a bit weird though was like, see how obviously when Ricky gets shot and they just like carry his body back home, like just put his blood-sodden body just on the couch. Didn't think, oh, we better phone somebody. Take him in the
I think-
just plant
I
him
think
down
it's to sort of emphasise the point that, like, when you live in like the hood, as since it's Boyz in the hood, but like
Mhm.
living in the hood, an ambulance isn't going to. An ambulance is going to come to you last. Do you know what I mean?
Well, he did
Out
sort
to
of
that,
touch on that.
they know already, and it's ingrained in the culture not to phone the police. And I mean, they would probably get somebody in a car to drive them to a hospital rather than phone an ambulance because.
Aye, well, that's what I was sort of think going to add as well. Is like they did sort of point to that when obviously there was a shooting at the start at Trey's father's house, and then when he gets stopped by the police as well, and they're kind of just like assholes towards him. So I did kind of think maybe that was why, but it just seemed a bit random. Obviously, just putting him on the couch and then just being like shouting on his mum and his wife and be like, "Oh, there you go, your son and your husband's dead, by the way." But obviously that goes back to like how they've not got any technology back then to actually communicate with each other probably as well. So,
just to interject a little bit. See when when you think back to that culture and Daniel talking about like the ambulance and stuff would be there last. There's a couple of bits where if you think when they were kids and they just knew there was a dead body lying in these bushes.
Mm-hmm.
And they go across and they're admiring it to an extent, and then the other guys are there and they're like, "Yeah, we know he's dead. Fucking leave him." Like
mm-hmm.
it was not a shocking thing. And then also they've wanted to get the body back to what would be their safe place so that they can then go and get their retribution for it as well. So it was all about getting the body there, giving it to the mum, the partner, and then they're going to go and deal with what's just happened. And it was for me, that was probably the whole best part of the film, because you've got that part where Trey goes through so many different emotions between his best friend / brothers just being murdered. Then he wants to get get it back, and then his dad talks him out of it. Then he flips back again, and he's just going through so many different parts. It was a really strong bit. But sorry to interrupt you there, Bunzy.
No, I think you make a good point about how you did feel sort of more emotionally involved with the characters as it went through as well, and the ending was quite interesting in terms of them obviously going up wanting revenge, and then how Trey sort of backs off it, which worked for his character because he didn't really belong there. Like obviously the film changed it so that he wasn't there. I thought it was decent. I don't think it's not something I would go back and watch. But as I say, that's probably because of partly what the film's about more than, and I can see why. I don't know what obviously you think, but I could see why people would really like this kind of film. But it's not just the kind of ones that I would turn on and think, right, I'm really going to enjoy this. But no, that's all. So go on.
There's loads and loads of different stories going on through this film. It's one of the things I really, really like about it, because you've got Trey's character, who would be what class is the main character, of the movie. But the more interesting character is, I think, the Ricky character is more interesting, because it's about like this athletic ability that he's got, and he really tries to make something of himself. But he's also in a household where he's got the complete polar opposite in his brother. But then the mum doesn't hide the fact that these are two different boys completely, and she's got a preference to one. One's a failure, and he gets told all the way, even for being a kid, that he's a fat waste of space and he'll never amount to anything. And then his little brothers, and Ricky's getting all the props for his mum. And even when they had that fight out in the middle of the garden, which Ricky to an extent starts, and then because he's frustrated and he's angry and he's got all these other emotions going on, but Doughboy gets smacked for it. And then when they bring the body back into the room, it's Doughboy's fault as well. Which for me, I was so confused watching that part, because I was trying to think back to what kicks it off as I don't know the name of the guy that does it, but the guy that shoulder barges into him, which is like the dick measuring thing that guys do, and then Ricky's like reacted to defend himself, but he's big, he's big brother, I don't know what the age gap is between them, but the big brother's jumped out with a gun, who's ready to defend his brother to the end, which then starts this whole thing that moves on. But he still gets the blame for it. So even the mum knows nothing about what's happened or why or how it's got to this point, still blames Doughboy for it. And I thought when the movie ends and you see him walking across the street and then you get the little text that pops up in the middle of the screen and it's like, was it 2 days later or 2 weeks later he dies?
Yeah.
Which he kind of knew himself that because he was saying how like he knows that was what his life was going to be, and I thought as well that it was quite good the way it portrayed the relationship between him and his brother, because although they argued, they like they were fighting, obviously, then when it came down to it, then he was always going to defend it. It was more the fact he could fight him, he could scrap him, they could have a scrap with each other, but when it came to anyone else, he was also really protective.
Yeah, and it's like it was interesting just watching the different bits, because then you've got Trey, who wants to be a businessman, he wants to make something of himself. He's too smart, but he's too smart when he's really young, that he's a dick. And that's why his mum ships him off, because he's too difficult, because he's probably too smart for them. His dad's got the coolest name in TV or movie history. Imagine being called Furious Styles. That's cool as fuck. Give me that.
Notice the name of his business is Furious Financial. That's the name of it.
I mean,
now, I've seen this film about 20 times, and that's the first time I noticed it was this thing.
That's good. Why does Lawrence Fishburne look 10 years younger than Cuba Gooding Jr. in this movie?
I was going to bring that up. They're the same fucking age. They look the same fucking age, him and his dad.
Right, don't stop stealing my trivia. I told you I've got a limited number of facts here.
It's just when I watched it,
because Lawrence Fishburne is actually referred to as Larry Fishburne in the credits at the end. That made me chuckle. I was like, that's just knocked 20 years off his age, just referred to him as Larry.
Lawrence Fishburne was my favourite character in it as well. Like he was a really interesting character. For me, it was like he was this respected guy within their community, but he still lived in a rough part because he was a part of the people. Like it was a part of him. He couldn't get away from it, although he was trying to do so much good. Like when he had to talk with the group of people that came out to the plot of lands that they were looking and stuff, and it was. I was kind of watching it thinking, like, why do you not just fuck off out of here? Like you didn't need to be here. You earn decent money. You've got your own business. Like you need to go progress. But it's again part of that culture where he's in the hood. That's it. He's not going anywhere. He's not doing anything. The same as what Doughboy was having. Trey's still kicking around in there. He's not doing anything. He's trying to do a little bit of business and stuff. But for me, Furious Styles definitely my favourite character of it. Daniel, you jumped in there with talking about Mr. Furious Styles yourself.
I was actually just going to expand on your point there. Like, I've seen this film a lot of times. A bit like White Men Can't Jump. I first watched it when I was young, and I've intermittently watched it every couple of years through my life. I don't know. It's an easy film to watch, and I really enjoyed it at first. And I think that's maybe the difference between us who watched it when it first came out. Well, no, when it was of its time, and then Burnsy watching it now. Doesn't feel dated still when I watch it. I still think it maybe when I first watched it. But I remember reading a thing about it before that Furious makes a few points that like his dad wasn't there to teach him what to do, right? And that's sort of why he is stuck where he's stuck. And then you look at things like he makes his son do his chores and all that, and he's like, no one's there to make me do that. And you notice that his place is a fucking tit. His bath's disgusting. Like, what was he doing before his son came? He wasn't doing that. So I think he sort of recognises the things he doesn't do himself, and he actually isn't as well put together as you think. Like he comes across like he knows what he's doing, but when he's in his own, he's doing fuck all and not looking after himself. Which I found quite interesting when I read that, because when I first watched it, that never really came to mind for me. I never really thought about it. But when you go, Kyle.
I was just going to say, do you not think it seemed, obviously from what we get to see in the movie, but how quickly the mum shifted the boy on, and then how long he stayed there as well until she wanted him back when he was all grown up and matured and he was past that point of being a wee boy. And then how difficult she became with the dad and that big argument they had in the phone and stuff. And for me, that was always it was quite a weird part because it was like it didn't seem like a big thing that really happened at school. He got a 3-day suspension for whooping his pal with a fucking stick, and then and then that's it. You're away to live in the hood forever now.
I think I can't remember his name. Oh, it's annoying. The guy that made this. Anyway, I feel like there's some sort of mother issue in whoever sort of wrote this. Was none of the mothers are likable people. They're all terrible. Like
that's true.
Like the women aren't really. None of the women are sort of memorable from it, and the ones that are, they've all just. It's mostly negative qualities. So, but I think this is a great movie. I think Burns makes a great point. Is I'm not really a big fan usually of the age up film where you get like part of it in one time period and it just jumps to another and then growing up. But this does it quite well because they do such a good job of keeping the characters distinctive. So those little kids, I don't think they're actors. They just seem like actual little kids for the neighbourhood. And I think that works really well because they're not very good acting, but it feels quite genuine. And I think this whole film does still feel quite genuine to me, which is a difficult thing to do when you're talking about a film that came out in 1991. I don't know, I feel like it's quite important because like it doesn't glamorise what's going on. Like it's sad, man. This is a sad film.
Yeah.
Like, there's loads of bits in this, and it just makes you feel like why this is what folk genuinely have to live like, and in America, like meant to be the most advanced fucking country in the world. You know what I mean? And this is what genuinely folks still live like now. Like they've got to, and the speech that Furious makes is sort of making the point. It's like they're forced into this fucking situation, and it's really fucking difficult to get out of it. So I think they do a great job of putting that across. None of this is really glamorized, which you get with a lot of other films that are like this about stories for like these sort of areas. This one's Crenshaw, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like we've seen also, we were talking about like Friday and like Don't Be a Menace, which is sort of like a parody of this. But there's other films about the same sort of thing, but it tends to be like there's comedies and shit like that, whereas this one takes it deadly serious. I also think Ice Cube's really underrated. He went on to do like quite a few daft films, like, but yeah, I feel like he had potential to be a really good actor if he'd stuck with it. Or maybe it's just that he could only ever play, because he's basically played himself. I don't think he had to do much to change it. But have you seen Ice Cube doing the interview about how he got asked to be in this film, no?
Nope.
He met the guy that wrote it well before that he had anywhere near the chance to make a movie. And he met Ice Cube and he's like, I'm writing a movie for you to be in, and like it's going to be a fucking hit. And like they've had each other for like 3 or 4 years. He kept saying, like, I've got my script now, and like kept updating him. And he was like, I'm doing it. And Ice Cube just thought all the way through that like this was a nonsense, but like a random weirdo, and it ended up happening. So
that's it. Hunter's got no trivia left now.
No, I do have something I can add on the back of that. I did kind of read that, like how it was. It was obviously at the height of when that original NWA lineup were steamrolling across America and the world. That this film was in its early stages of production. Obviously, that's when Ice Cube was picked out at that point.
There you go. So I really enjoy this film still. It doesn't really. I don't get sick of it really. It's easy to watch again. I remember all the bits, but I don't get sort of bored by it. I like a good contrast is the movie Stand By Me, what it's like about a bunch of maybe more privileged white kids. What's a body? Oh, it's like a big adventure to go and see a body. Then, yeah, so the realism of that being a regular occurrence in your neighbourhood and the streets and about you, like hits a lot harder. Like it's just past, just like Kyle said, it's a tiny little aspect of the film. It's not even that big a deal. You know what I mean? But one of the saddest bits for me is when they steal his football.
Okay, it's actually got an A because it shows you the contrast of the people there. Like they're kicking with loads of money in their pockets, but they look dead rough and they look dead poor, and they just want to pinch a ball. But there's one good guy in there who's like, look, give the boy his ball back. And it's funny because he tends to be like the bigger, tougher looking guy who's got that little heart of gold sort of thing, whereas it's a wee happy guy that's like, oh, yeah, it. And then
that gave me flashbacks to, I'm sure we all experienced that at one point when we were like 6 or 7 and a bunch of maybe like 12-year-olds who seemed massive at the time. He's a kick your ball, mate. Oh.
Boys I will shot your bike or something. You know it's never getting seen.
Aye. Then you're knee deep in the canal getting your ball back.
Aye, that's it. Launched into the middle of the Lido. Sorry. Danny, please. But no, I like this film. I think it does a really good job of making you feel for the characters. I like the fact that he just goes straight out for the revenge at the end and he knows there's going to be the consequences and that's just fucking life. Do you know what I mean? It's happened to loads of folk he knows it's going to happen to him. That's just how it goes when you live like that, and it's fucking sad, man. So
Sean, you've been nice and quiet. I'm sure you've got some explosive stuff to talk about this.
Not really explosive or anything. I'm kind of.
Well, talk to us about your American football career that you were going to have. Did you go down the same route as Ricky?
I don't think that's an appropriate joke considering a young man lost his life with his future ahead of him. So I agree with pretty much everything Daniel says. Obviously, I've never been in an area like that in LA or anywhere in America, but I could imagine that this is a really good kind of representation of what life is like there. Like, as the dad kind of alluded to when he was talking to them at this, it was like a sign or whatever it was, and he was saying like basically we are at the bottom of the barrel here. Like, nobody's coming to save us. Like, take us out of here. You need to make a life for yourself, think about your future and stuff like that. Like. And obviously, there's two parts to it. There's the kind of gang side by Doughball or whatever, or Doe. What's his name again?
Doughboy.
Doughboy.
Doughball.
That's the
Doughboy.
Scottish one.
So obviously, like he's the kind of gang side and stuff, and then his brother is the one that's got the potential to get himself out of an environment like that and really make a living for himself. But that life just caught up with him at the end. And it is really sad because, as you can imagine, like for a lot of these young guys living there, like there isn't really any opportunities out there at all. Like, their job prospects will be very minimal, their education will be minimal, and it's a shame. Like for me watching this, like, it's a film and that, but like it's hard not to feel sorry for people who are in this situation, and it is obviously like quite a big problem, not just in LA. That at all. Like there's like Chicago's really bad. There'll be places in New York and stuff like that.
I just wanted, just because you mentioned something, sorry, I didn't want to jump in, but just to add on to that before you move to your next point, like, I actually forgot. Did I tell you about when I ended up wandering into Harlem and how it was like? I just remembered that, and see, and obviously it's different, right? But it's a similar sort of situation. And me and my mate picked a restaurant that we just picked it on fucking Google. Didn't look? You just think it's that's where it is, and we knew it was roughly in Harlem, but the sort of main street we were walking along when we came out of what's it called, the big park, Central Park, was fine. But then we took a few turns, and then suddenly you were like in the fucking neighbourhood, and it was fucking terrifying, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I fucking shit myself, and I suddenly just thought, I'm Billy Big Boss, thinking you can just go anywhere. And it's fine, do you know what I mean? But you realise there's sort of different levels to the sort of tension. Yeah. But there was like a police car. Every second car was a police car. I think they just go round the block constantly.
It's interesting to say it because I went to New York with Sarah, and we were getting the trains to go to one of the wee islands somewhere. I can't remember exactly, but maybe like I think there was a bit called Long Beach just down the bottom of New York, and we got off at the wrong stop. And we got off at the stop. It was Jamaica Street. And we were walking through, and we went through the barrier, and the guy, like, he worked there, he was in the little station in the middle, literally ran down, grabbed the two of us, and was like, look, no, you just need to go back that way, so I'll have to get the train, go straight back. Like, then he go down there. Mm-hmm. He like sensed a fear, but we were lost. We were literally just walking around at that point, like no idea where to go. But we could have walked into like a really rough part in New York where we shouldn't have been. Sorry, Sean, we're stealing your thunder here.
No, it's fine. But I just find this film, like, I've seen it before, maybe 2 or 3 times, but this is the first time that I'd watched it in a good while, and it's been up for a couple of votes before, and I've been kind of would have been happy for it to win any previous votes. I was wanting to watch it again, but like, as Daniel already touched on, there is a lot of films out there of this type. A lot of it does kind of have a certain comedy element to it. Like, we watched Straight Outta Compton recently, which is obviously like a biopic of NWA, and there's elements to that that are kind of relatable to this. Obviously, it's in the same setting in LA. You've obviously got Ice Cube and Ice Cube's son, even though they're two different characters. But like, it's just like I just find it really sad seeing like a group of people when there's just that is literally the only life, and that is a life they're going to have forever. Constantly looking over their shoulder at rival gang members, constantly being wary of what area of fucking the city or town, whatever, that they're walking into in case they get jumped and stuff like that. Like, I just could never imagine living a life like that. It must be absolutely horrible. So, like, this film, I think, is probably the best I've seen that, well, in my opinion, gives off the kind of more realistic representation of what life would be in that, I suppose, in these kind of suburb areas and stuff like that. But thankfully, obviously, it's not somewhere that I'm from and no something I've ever had to deal with. I would fold like a pack of cards, man. but I really like Ice Cube in this, and again, Daniel touched on it as well. There is obviously like a limit to his acting ability. I could probably name 2 or 3 other films that he's been in, and the one that stands out is him as a bald, round man with kids. What's that? Is that Are We There Yet or something like that?
Yeah.
Aye.
There yet too.
Aye, there was a second one.
Remember
he
he
like,
was,
are we even there yet or something?
was he not Xander Cage, or was he not in the Triple X?
Yes.
He was in a couple of films with Kevin Hart too. I can't remember if they play cops. I can't remember.
That's actually decent. Ride Along was all right for what it is. I thought they were quite good together in that, actually. He was like, but again, it's the same kind of character, like tough. Yeah. It's no like but obviously that's his range, which is fine. Like, he's going to make a living out of it. He'll have all his record stuff and all that as well. So like he'll be absolutely swimming in dough. But I thought he was really good. I didn't like Cuba Gooding Jr. in this at all, just because he just of how old he looked. Like, I just found it just ridiculous. I just like, surely there could have been somebody else that could have played that part.
Possibly.
It's a trivia.
Just to jump on the Ice Cube movies, because I just seen it popped up. I remember watching this before. Remember the movie Torque?
No.
Torque. It was like Fast and Furious on bikes.
Wow.
It was fucking awful, but it popped up there. And I seen the name. I was like, fucking, I remember watching that.
I do remember him being in the revamped Triple X. He was like the replacement for Vin Diesel.
Yeah. Because he was in the 21 Jump Street as well. He was quite good in that one, actually. Quite like 21 Jump Street. Sorry. Sean, if you've got anything left to add.
Not much else to say. It is a good film. It's not one that I would watch like a lot. Like, I'm quite happy to go back to it every 3, 4, 5 years or whatever. I don't agree with Burnsy in saying that it feels dated or anything like that. I think that, like, watching it, like, it's still, it just doesn't give off that vibe for me. But no, I enjoyed it. I'm glad that it finally got picked after getting in a few votes.
Oh, well, happy days. Mr. Lateness, Scott Hunter.
Yeah, that's myself. So I am singing the same drum as everyone else, but I kind of, what you have all said kind of echoes my thoughts on this film as well. I mean, I'm not, first of all, saying that this is anywhere near the same league as Schindler's List, which I did score criminally too low on hindsight, but I think...
Where is this going?
Well, no, but I mean, what I'm saying, I think it's one of those where, as privileged white people, should watch for a bit of education and understanding and empathy towards people, black societies in America that have had so many years, and still even to the present day, from authorities, from anyone, from basically there's no chance of life. Essentially, what is it? There's kind of been a common theme with this message. You've got a guy with a great athletic ability. There's no guarantee set for NFL, but he's definitely got a skill that can get him out of the neighbourhood that he's in, and again, his life shot down. Again, partly fault of his own, because he's obviously started a beef with somebody, but then it's his brother. It's his brother, the gangster, that's flashed a gun and started a. And obviously, there's a bit of to and fro before it. It's not like they've just seen him 3 days later and went there. There's a bit, but again, that's so he's got a chance to get out and he can't because of just the society and the community that he lives in. So I do feel like on that there is a message there, and I think it's good to watch and understand, even if it's not. Hopefully, it'll help change some people's perspectives on some aspects in societies and life. But also as well, what I would say is I did watch this. I haven't watched it for a few years. Definitely like one of those films back in high school. It was always like, oh, you need to watch this when you're cutting about in your young teams with your Bear Max and Fubu gear on, thinking you're American anyway, listening to rap, and you're like, oh, you need to watch this. And again, but you maybe think you don't take it in, you don't maybe understand and appreciate it. Then, as we would now going back with hindsight, and obviously a greater understanding of how the world works as well. I mean, you just think it's a glamorization, but possibly at the time. But I just kind of what you were touching on, Daniel, as well. I do think I can't remember. I think it's James Singleton possibly was the writer and director.
That's enough, John.
That I do think a lot of this. I mean, it might not be a blow by blow or like word by word things that have happened in his life, but he's definitely been in and around situations where all this has happened. I mean, this is just plucked out of thin air as make believe, or this is what happens in Crenshaw. I mean, that's what it does. Obviously, there is aspects from real life in it as well, because obviously you've got the gang members that they're having the disagreement with are meant to be portraying the Bloods, who obviously were I don't know if they're still active to this day, but they're definitely back then anyway, like a real sort of. I mean, I think it was your touch on, Troy. I mean, you could wear certain colours or whatever because you were associated with being associated with a gang, even if you were a straight A student would never touch or been involved in any gang culture, but you could wear the wrong colour hat, a t-shirt one day and get shot down just because it was the colour of another rival gang's uniform.
Scary, eh?
Yeah, I mean, it is mental to think that even that. I don't think it's as bad as what it was, but even then, when you're talking mid-90s, it was still heavily ongoing then. Just I mean, on the aspects of the film and the acting as well, again, kind of whatever you're saying, Lawrence Fishburne is great in this for me. I mean, I do like that. I think what you're saying, Kyle, for me, even though he is successful and I mean, he is trying to be a positive influence in some ways, not even just to Trey, but to obviously to other members of the community as well. And I'm maybe thinking along the lines that he probably could move out there and probably get a better job somewhere else, or whatever. But then it's like, how are you going to appeal and have those people listen to you and maybe take on board your message if you're living in maybe not quite a mansion, but if you're living out west area and have a better life than what they have, you're only going to be able to get your message across if they can relate to you. So maybe that's probably why he stuck around in the neighbourhood to maybe help try and change from within rather than trying to be look at me, look how successful I am, I made it out of the hood.
You know, it's a weird one because like you can kind of class it as potentially selfish if you were to then jump ship and go out and take your thoughts with you. But is it selfless to stay there and keep your family in that environment when you know it's not good? Does he see it getting better? Like, how quickly does he see it getting better? He's already watching. There's a quote that somebody says, and I think it might have been Nia Long's character when she said, potentially her, can we have one night where someone doesn't get shot? And it's what. And I wrote that down when I was watching it because I was like, geez, I was like, actually, imagine. And then you've got her sitting doing she's sitting doing work or something at a table and there's just shooting going outside. She flinches a little bit, but she's not really that fussed. Could you imagine hearing gunshots going outside of one of your houses?
It's madness.
Bad enough when a car backfires, someone never mind an actual gunshot.
To me, it's madness, man. Like, how many people have got guns and that? Like,
well, I remember being quite young and there was being in the excess bowling at the time, and leaving the bowling to make my way across the Indianos to get my takeaway just beside the court, and the whole place was shut down, police everywhere, because somebody had fired a gun at the court in Camelon, right? And folks spoke about that for months, like where I was, but that happens nightly in these environments. What a contrast and difference. And I don't know, I just feel like Furious Styles had the opportunity from a young age to take his son, lift him and take him somewhere more positive at that point. I don't know if his business was at a stage where he could do something like that at that point, but you know, it's a hard one. It's like an ethical conundrum, isn't it? Like he wants to implement change in his roots, really.
I just genuinely don't think he had that much money. Like,
yeah,
if his place was a shithole. He had that.
I wasn't as if it was like really nice on the inside or whatever. It was kind of just it was a bog standard place compared to all the other neighbours. So like, I think it was just that his job he maybe came across as more intelligent than what he actually was.
He should have. He had the intelligence to be doing something else, but I just don't think it ever worked out for him. And I think, that's again, you could blame it on the environment as well.
Yeah.
I think for who the mum was as well, he was always telling Trey, like, oh, tell his son such and such mum I'm asking for her. A bit of a player.
Surely he was a catch of the area though, eh? Like he was he was too handsome in this as well, which again when you're looking at him and Cuba Gooding Jr. who looks about 40 at that point when he's playing what, a 17-year-old or something.
His character's also a dick, eh? Like
just unlikable.
See, I'm surprised nobody brought up the whole when he tells his dad the story about him shagging the bird that he made up.
It's quite a good story.
But like, why would you make up a shagging story for your dad? That's a bit weird.
And also when he gets to bed his girlfriend, that was a bit random too. How like he just cries and then he's like, right, go upstairs now.
Something for you to learn, Burnsy. Show you the
just cry.
Yeah. Show some vulnerability.
Just get a gun stuck in your face by a policeman to upset you, to show a bit of anger. That's all you need to do, Burnsy.
Right. That's a plan for the weekend sorted.
Hunter, do you have any more thoughts or trivia you want to add to this?
No more thoughts. Again, I think I think we've got all bases covered now on this, but I will fire in with the trivia. So first of all, as we've all touched on, so Lawrence Fishburne played Larry Fishburne, who played Cuba Gooding Jr.'s dad, 7 years older than him in real life.
Wow.
And
actually was Cuba Gooding Jr.?
I don't know doing the things, but if somebody can Wikipedia one up, and then we can work it back.
Did you want to know how old he was at the time?
Yeah, how old was Cuba Gooding Jr. at the time of this?
Okay,
I had 23 and 30 maybe.
Well, you can do your other trivia while I get this all loaded up.
Right, so I know we talked about somebody younger to have played the role of Trey. So Will Smith.
I was going to say Will Smith. I was going to say him.
Considered for the role, but decided to knock it back because he was heavily involved with Fresh Prince at the time.
He probably wanted to keep like a more wholesome image.
Yeah, that's it. So Daniel, you touched on this as well. So the opening and closing scenes of this film are direct reference to Stand By Me.
Oh, I didn't actually know that. It just makes me think about Stand By Me. That's funny.
Yeah. So it was also 1991's most financially successful movie. A budget of $6.5 million, actually grossed $56.1 million, which is quite decent back in 1991. So also this is the most interesting fact that I read. So Lloyd Avery II, who played the gang member that shot Ricky, actually after this film's production joined the Bloods in real life. He was then arrested later in connection with a double homicide, was sentenced to life in jail, and then killed by his cellmate in September 2005.
Well,
fucking hell. So he was a method actor then. He was right into character.
To be fair, like, he had an evil face. Like, sure, you can just look at folk and you're evil. He had one of them faces.
Oh, he was definitely pulling insects off Daddy Longlegs when he was a muffler, like. Sorry, pulling legs off him, no insects off him.
No, pulling insects off him. So Cuba Gooding Jr. was 23 when this was made.
Oh, maybe I did read it then, because I've not just plucked that number out of thin air.
What I thought you were going to pop into your trivia that I seen, which would have completely changed this movie if it was cast, but Eddie Murphy was considered for the role of Furious Styles.
I did see that.
Why isn't Eddie Murphy taking that character? That'd been so
never know. Do you mean sometimes you put these comedy actors and they just suddenly do well enough when they do something serious? So I don't know. I'd be quite interested. Morpheus was good.
Morpheus was good. Happy days. Right, so let's get some scores on the doors then. Burnsy, we'll come back to you first.
Okay, I'm going a 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5. Daniel?
Well, I think that's criminally low. I'm going for a solid 4.
Solid 4 from Daniel. Sean?
A 3.75.
3.75. Hunter?
Same for me, 3.75.
3.75. And then it'd be a solid 4 for me to copy Daniel. Go on, Mr. 3 out of 5. What we get?
Yeah, that's a 3.7 overall.
3.7, which brings this movie in line with A Nightmare on Elm Street, Rush Hour, The Departed, and The Hunt. So we're coming in at joint 32nd.
I would say I've been cheeky with my score though, because I knew you were going to score it higher. Before I came on the stream, I was going to get a 3.25, but I didn't want to boost it too much.
I write my score down before we start talking. Don't get influenced.
I do. So.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, right? So obviously you're living in fear of being shot. Like, what the Scottish equivalent of that when we were at this age was getting a kicking. Have you got any stories of being in the bad neighbourhood and getting a fucking kicking?
Joe, I'll give you one. I remember me and my cousin must have been about 12 or 13 or something like that. And we took a football, we were going down to the shops. Where the shops were, you had a little trio of shops, but then you had like these 2 long pieces of wall where you could just play one-on-one football. It's like perfect area for that. So we were going down for there. My cousin goes to his area. I was like, I'm just going to nip in the shop and buy some juice. And I come back out as there's like this family, there was like 4 or 5 of them, had him up against the wall whilst they were kicking his football about. So it's ran across to try and like help out. Bayfield's got absolutely levered in the middle of these like shopping malls, and they fucked off with my bottle of juice and his football. So it was like when I watched that part come back, I was like, Jesus Christ! I remember at that point being like, oh, just give us the ball back, like total greeting with like a burst nose and say ribs. Like, I just want the ball back. But it's funny because the football, you're more scared of going home and saying you've got your football taken off you, which maybe cost a £5 at the time, right? But the fear was going back home to like admit what had happened.
Just similar to what they were like with the basket. What was it, the ball they had? Not basketball.
American football.
American football. That's it.
But then again, like parallels with this story, like it just happened to be a big brother that went and sorted it all out after.
Yeah.
It was just what happened. But yeah, that's I'll give some. That was me getting a kick in with a similar story with this.
It definitely still exists here. Like I feel like we should probably make that clear. We're talking a lot as if like everywhere we grew up was fine. Like there was definite danger here in some of our neighbourhoods and where we grew up. But
I think
the element here was a knife. The element here is a knife here, isn't it? So, I mean, that's what you do. I'm scared something might have.
Somebody took a knife out of my sister once when she was like 14. Like I lived in an area that like never I had like a young team, but it wasn't like a notoriously bad area. Instead, like it was quite a quiet area, like Corrie Avenue, like relatively quite quiet, quite a big street. But she was down the park playing with her pa when somebody came out and had a knife and just kind of took it out and like held it like in front of them while they were standing across from them. I mean, her coming home in tears. Well, obviously nothing happened. I think they were just being wee fannies, but it was weird that happened in there.
That's made me think of my near-death experience. I don't think I've told you this before. I was like 14, 15, and I was at the back cutting my mum and dad's grass. So I stayed in, my street was kind of rough, it wasn't very nice. But, so I was just cutting the grass in the back garden there. I just saw like this guy, like maybe about 40-year-old, like wandering clearly on something into my back garden, which is quite a weird thing, somebody coming into your, he came right in the front of my back garden. And he was looking for my neighbour. He kept shouting my neighbour's name. And I'm like, oh no, it's the wrong housemate next door. He goes, no, where is he? And I was like, no, I don't know where he is, mate. And then he just started like, you know when you know it's going to happen, like something's going to happen. So he started taking these steps towards me, like saying, where the fuck is he? And all that. And luckily my dad saw it and came out and was like, oh, fuck you, like get the fuck, blah, blah. Nearly went for my dad, but anyway, he fucked off, right? That night, he went up the town and stabbed somebody and killed them.
Fuck.
Oh,
Jesus
Aye.
Christ.
So I was like, fuck, man. Like, mentally.
Yeah.
that is mental.
Well, to take us from that somber stories we're telling there for getting kickings to potentially getting stabbed, let's take ourselves back to the future.
Let's do it.
That was nice,
I'm,
Kel.
I'm really
What
excited
a
to hear
segue that was.
what Bunzy thinks of this.
Oh, I don't know if it's Bunzy you should be worried about. So, Back to the Future, out in 1985, Marty McFly, a 17-year-old high school student, is accidentally sent 30 years into the past in a time travel in DeLorean invented by his close friend, the eccentric scientist Doc Brown.
That's a
We're
funny
welcome-
way to say paedophile.
Yeah. Wow. Right, Bunzy, let's get your thoughts on the paedophile Doc Brown.
I'm not going to talk about that part. So, I messaged Sean about this before I'd watched it. I looked at it and I saw it was sci-fi and I was like, holy shit, I'm going to hate this. I think I voted against it every single round because the thought of it just couldn't be bothered with it. But no, I thought this was really enjoyable. I don't know what Kel's reaction, if he agrees with me or not. I don't think he does agree with me. I thought Michael J. Fox, I thought he was class. I'm kind of like the last few movies we've watched after me getting berated for abusing young actors all the time. Is, well, I don't know what age he is, but he's obviously youngish. He's not like young as in child, but I thought he, as I say, I thought he was terrific. The start of the film, when obviously you're finding out about his family as like 1985, I thought that was really, really boring. Like, I could feel myself switching off already. And that, I don't know how long that part was for, but at that point I was like, this is going to be awful. Like, it was one of those films that probably if we weren't watching it for this, I would have been tempted to turn off. But once it went back into 1955, that's where it got a lot more interesting, enjoyable, and funny at stages too. It seemed a bit ridiculous when he goes into the car and he's like, doesn't even click on when I've had this big discussion about how the car, you can put in different dates and that, and it's going to take you back in time, and they've set it, and he just starts driving about, flying and whatever. I know there's a chase or whatever, but you think
He's getting shot at. I don't think that's going to be at the forefront of his mind. He's got terrorists chasing him, shooting him.
I know, but it's only because it's literally just happened like 10 seconds before he gets into the car. It's not as if it's happened like minutes before or a fallen day. Like, sure, like to me, it's like, it would, maybe that's just me, but I'm thinking it would still be in your head at some point, thinking he's just seen it happening, so he knows that this is what the car does. This is what's going to happen to me. But anyway,
Do you not think it'd make more sense to go further back than 10 minutes when you've got that time machine, just to give yourself a bit more time to help it, Doc? Just a thought.
Also, I would say to defend that one, he was making like the decision in a split second to the last second.
Oh no, it's just the fact it didn't even like. I'm not saying he would have thought, oh shit, but as if he's not even it doesn't even cross his mind for 1 millisecond. That's
I agree with you on that one, Bunzy. I just disagree with Kyle on his one.
All right, okay. I didn't understand what Kyle meant, so I just ignored his point. But you were just coming at me. But when his own mother, when his mother starts getting infatuated with him, that was like really weird and tough to watch and whatever. Like, I was kind of like, it was going a bit, you didn't know what way it was going to go. Like, I was thinking, how far is this actually infatuation is going to go? It kind of made you a bit difficult to watch, I thought, at stages.
Quick question for you all, just on that point. What's more creepy? The fact that we're watching his mum come on to him, or the fact that he likes it? And he makes a reference.
It doesn't like it.
He makes a reference.
I'm with Kyle. He definitely likes it.
He says, "Mum is hot," and then he stops, and I'm like, "Oh man, you're looking at your own mum at that point, thinking, well, you're sitting there in your pants, thinking she's hot."
And in the situation where he's in the bed, he wakes up, he's in his wee purple pants or whatever, And she's like sitting in the bed and you already get as soon as there's a little hint of get to fuck, I'd be getting to fuck.
Yeah.
I'm out the fucking door. No way am I like weird, super weird. Anyway.
He definitely allows it to happen. It's no, you could be like, I just fucked off. I'm just hanging about with either that.
And then
like you're more fall in love with it or go back to the paedophile and play with him. So it's kind of really caught between a rock and a hard place at that point.
So no, also he comes up with the idea of like her getting saved by him or whatever.
Oh,
well, I mean, oh,
I'm going to like hover in a car in a real like weird situation, and she's going to slap me because I'm not going to be a nice guy. Which in your mind you're like, you're going to make advances on her. That was how you're getting slapped.
Why could you not just be a total asshole to her instead of being like, I'm going to make a move her and try and like get with her? Like, sure, just like swearing her and abusing her, or and that would have been a bit better instead of being like, I'll try and pull her in the back.
I mean, I know he's saying to the dad, like, to be there whatever time, like 5 to 10 or whatever the time is. What if his dad's is like busting for a piss and he's like, it's a cute, like, so he's running the 5 minutes. So like, how far down the up his boat does that go before the dad comes out for the dance?
Just on that before we sort of brush it under the carpet and go back to Bonzi, sorry. There's an awful lot of sexual, almost violence in this movie. I'm shocked that this is not a 15 in retrospect. Like, it is. Do you mean you're really watching attempted sexual assault on multiple occasions in this film, like quite aggressive, mad. Anyway, sorry, carry on, Bonzi.
No, it's just after I wrote down my score for this and now I'm doubting myself after this conversation. Like his dad beat like up that tree and everything too, like spying her in underwear. I was like, what the hell am I watching? And then like I don't know whether that was something you could imagine with him being such a like weirdo at the start, or whether you think he wouldn't have the balls to do that. I was kind of torn whether is that believable, is it not? I don't really know, but that was like disgusting. But when like if you take out him and his mum, then when
take the incest storyline. We'll
take that bit out.
We'll keep the paedophile storyline in.
5-minute movie.
Sorry?
Then you'd be left with a 25-minute movie.
No, I was going to say like the bits where obviously Marty's trying to get his mum and dad together and stuff like that. Those were quite. Right. I thought they were quite funny, because obviously it was never just going to happen really straightforward, and then there was occasions where, like when he was in the cafe and there was a bit in the school and stuff like that, where you can tell he is actually trying to force them together, but because how he's trying to be nice about it, his mum's fallen for him instead of obviously his dad, and like there was funny scenes as well where you can see what he's trying to do and everyone's just falling flat in his face. It wasn't a film where I was like on the edge of my seat, but it was like entertaining, I guess, out with the incest storyline that was in it throughout. The ending about it is, I didn't really click on it first. That obviously because the rest of his family was only in the storyline very briefly, I didn't click on when he comes down the stairs. Is that his brother and sister or something that's at the table? Mm-hmm. I don't even know who that. At first, I thought, is this like a completely different family or something? I didn't even click on it was actually back in, because obviously the house is completely different and it explains that as the scene goes on. But at first, I was thinking, is he just like woken up and he's got a different mum and dad and everything there as well? It just completely bamboozled me at first, and then obviously it all makes sense. Another thing that I thought was a bit strange, but I guess they could have figured out a copy if it didn't happen, but obviously the ending is like they've just basically admitted that they're going to have a second movie to this, which
a wee teaser.
Yeah, but it was kind of that. It wasn't, to me, it wasn't even a teaser. It was kind of like, this is what's happening next. It wasn't kind of like this could happen. Whereas I was thinking, if the film did flop, then you've kind of left it as like everyone knows it. Well, everyone's expecting a second one, and if this did drew really poor numbers, you're left with like a really shit ending to it, because it doesn't end on any sort of other way than they can go a second one. If you watched it, it'd be like, when's the second one coming out? Because it's not, it's left completely open instead of being half closed and half open, if that makes sense.
I do think in 2020 hindsight, I believe, I mean, maybe I'm off base here, but I do believe Back to the Future did pretty well.
Oh no, it must have, obviously. But what I mean is, in terms of if you just watched the first one at the time, you'd be thinking, well,
with that attitude, you'd never be shown and sink that 3-pointer in the last second against Falk or Kai. You've got to take a risk sometimes and bank it with success. So,
but I thought it was a film that was kind of, it was something that you can just switch on, you can just relax watching it. It's not something you have to really concentrate on that much. There is obviously a lot of undertones that are a bit weird in terms of why somebody would come up with them. But when I was watching, I kind of swept those under the carpet instead of bringing it to light as you have done throughout my
Because
throughout my views.
do you know what that is? You've watched it with fresh eyes, and you've watched this to enjoy it as an entertaining movie, and it's designed in a sense that it's bells and whistles and flashes and fast paced to make it that exciting. But it's not until you actually like dip into it a little bit more, and you've watched it a couple of times, and you're a bit like, this is a bit awkward to watch.
Nothing obviously really happened, though. You know what I mean? If something did happen between him and his mum, you'd be like, I'd be coming and thinking, what on earth is somebody writing this shit for? It's like you can't like what go like, but whereas they obviously stopped it before it went anywhere. It was kind of, and there was reasoning, I guess, behind some of his madness that he was. To me, I didn't think he wanted to get with his mum. I thought he was kind of just like trying to get them together, but he was, what did you say at the time? He's no like, meant to be like 17, 18.
Well, he's 24-year-old in real life when he acted when he filmed it. He was 24.
Right. And the film was 17, 18, so he is obviously really young. He's not got that much of a brain. I did think that the person that was what was the guy's name that was his old friend, I'll call him?
What? Doc?
He wasn't really much coping helping him, was he? He just stood back and watched everything unfold. You think he could have actually said, maybe try this? No, he's just like, get them back together or things will blow up and all you lose all your family. Cheers for that, pal. You're really helpful, But
well,
yeah.
I'll hate me talking about this, but that's what Rick and Morty has done. It's been like a parody of this and how Doc doesn't give a fuck about Morty. He doesn't care. He's just do science shit. He's more excited about the science shit. He doesn't really care about him.
It's a cartoon, Sean. You'll not like it.
No, Sean wouldn't like it.
Well, for me, the absolute best thing about this movie is Crispin Glover's character. Like the dad's the best part. He's really funny. He's entertaining. He's good to watch. I didn't know what else I've ever seen Crispin Glover act in. It's only ever this film that I can think of. I don't like this. I didn't even remember liking it that much as a kid when it was on. There's so many like bits to it that to me just don't make sense. And I was reading some of these things after watching it again because I was like, why does this like? I couldn't work out why this film irks me so much when I watch it, but it's just it seems so stupid. I think Christopher Lloyd's such an unlikable character in it as well. Big Doc the pedo. I think Michael J. Fox is shit in it. I've never been the biggest Michael J. Fox fan in anything that I've watched him as well. Hunter may have this in his trivia, but I'm sure someone else was cast in this film first and switched out for Michael J. Fox. Halfway, maybe a couple of weeks into filming it.
I think there was, you're right, there was something. I've not noted it down, but I do remember reading that.
Well, it's I've got here. Eric Stoltz was cast to do it at the time. So there's a lot of scenes in it where it's not actually even the Michael J. Fox that's filming it. The bits that annoy me about this, right, and this is like after doing a bit of research, a bit pedantic on it, is why do they not recognise that their son looks like the guy that they named him after?
I mean, at what point though? Like, Do you think? Would you start maybe a weird conversation saying to your missus, "Do you think our son is slowly morphing into that guy whose face we'll barely remember for 20 years ago?"
Well,
I'm not having that one.
The mum's absolutely infatuated for the week and a half, 2 weeks or whatever it was that they were there.
You met for 1 week. God, like, you try to say that a pal you met in Tenerife on holiday when you were 13, you'll remember their face vividly.
Well, if they were living...
It's the fact that not only is he the guy that his mum was infatuated with, it's also the reason that they get together. He gives his dad the confidence to stand up to Biff to then win his mum's heart. So
Yeah.
The dad hits her with a car. There's loads of impactful things that you would remember. Like, mind that time, Dad, you hit like this guy with a car, then he helped me fall in love with this guy that we've had a kid that now looks like him. It's dead weird.
Somebody that I saw every single day at high school for 6 years and not recognise them.
But did you hit them with a car? And did you try to take their pants off them while she was related? That annoys me on it. The whole fading picture thing as well. I know it helps for the storyline, but to me it makes no sense. He's either there or he's no. You're not slowly disappearing because it's slightly getting away. Just didn't buy it. I just think that the whole concept of it's shit. The second and third one, the third one's one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. The second one's only cool because he's got laces that go in themselves. He's got smart shoes on them, but for me, I can't watch it. I didn't enjoy it. I'm gutted that we had to watch this one. I was really upset about this one.
Do you not think before somebody else goes, Kel, is obviously you're saying it didn't make sense or whatever, and there was flaws with the story, but the storyline's obviously not meant to make sense. No, somebody's not wrote this and thought, you can what this. Everybody's going to pick up this film and think, you know, this storyline, this is a good script, and everybody, like, it all flows together perfectly. Like, it's no meant to though.
I thought you were preparing to drop some like bombshells here, some pipe bombs, and like things that were majorly up with this plot, and nothing you've really said bothered me at all.
No, you've clocked it all, really. Mainly, I think it's for someone to write this, and the same guy wrote and directed it, and a big theme of the storyline is about having the mum infatuated with her son that she doesn't know, but the boy knows that that's his mum, and he's game, and he's in on it. It's just so creepy, man. It's such a weird film.
I have absolutely no idea where you're getting that the son wants to shag his mom. It absolutely doesn't.
So the bit where he said that she was hot, I'll take that bit as being one bit where he was game. The second bit where he makes up the convoluted story about him trying to only her in a car and
that's
the
not
dad
what
to come
happened,
to rescue.
No. I'm going to call you out on this because that's not what happened. When he said to his dad, "I'm going to do this, and you're going to basically come and save her," and he goes, "Also, you're going to," and it like basically says, "You're going to try it on with her," and he was like, "No, I'm not going to do that." So basically, that part is just made up in your own head.
No, he said, "Why would you slap here?" And he says, "Because that's what nice girls do to what I'm going to do," or something like that.
He was never going to touch her up or try and rape her. He was just going to be a dickhead to her.
Oh, he was going to make advances.
In your head, you've made up a scenario in your head because you don't like the film. So you've just outright lied, blasphemy about Back to the Future here. That never happened at all.
It was insinuated.
In your head that you've watched the film and he wants to pump his maw. I would say that raises more questions about you than it does.
So what would you suggest that he was going to do at that point then, Sean?
I would suggest that he was going to be a dick to her.
In what way?
Basically, as in like treat her like shit, talk to her like shit.
Kiss her then.
Because she grabbed him and kissed her.
She leaned over towards him and he allowed it to happen, and it lingered. You don't want somebody, if you didn't want her to kiss him, you could have stopped it from happening. And I would say, not to Kyle's point about that story, right? The reason that I felt that uncomfortable way is it's more the body language and behaviour, especially in that first meeting when she gets on the bed with him and all that. For me, like, the normal reaction is to instantly make a reason to get out of that situation. No, allow her to come over and sit next to you. And then there's a bit where she's putting her hand on his leg under the table, and why are you sitting? Get the fuck out of there! Like, why are you? He keeps going with it. Do you know what I mean? So I'm in between the two of you on this one.
No, I just think
it's the bit where he turns away. The bit because he turns away to say turns away from which is his dad to say he's going to do something unsavoury that's going to make it, and it seems dead to me. again, Sean, you've taken it with an assumption as well, on a different route.
I've
But
watched this film.
well, you've taken the assumption that he's going to be a dickhead to her. Like, he doesn't actually
That's
say
what he
that.
said.
No, he
I
doesn't.
did.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't say,
So-
I'm going to be a
so he
dick
said-
to her.
It's not. He said you actually quoted it there, or Daniel did. I'm going to be a guy that nice girls don't like, as in like. So you would automatically think he's going to just basically try and touch her up.
No. What I'm saying is and when his dad actually arrives and sees that there's a man on top of her like that, he's no surprised. That's the situation he's expecting to see as well. Like, so it is insinuated that that's what he's going to do. Right now, nobody's saying that he's actually going to like try and hurt her. That happens later, right? And I think the reason that's in everyone's mind is that it's a common theme throughout this movie. Like, even in the canteen early on, like in the school where you should be at like a safe space, that Biff was like grabbing that lassie's arm really hard and like trying to push himself on her and tells the guys.
That's what I thought he was going to do. What Biff did in the canteen, he was going to do similar to that, like grab her, but he wasn't going to go in. He wasn't going to like start kissing her. He was going to grab her and be like.
Can I just? I'm just going to read out word for word what actually gets said here, right? So Marty McFly says, right, so around 9 o'clock, she's going to get very angry with me, George McFly. Why would she get angry with you? Marty McFly, because, George, nice girls get angry when guys take advantage of them.
Right.
That's the words.
So your first thought is he's going to try and pump his maw?
No, let's take advantage of in this scenario. We're not saying he's going to try and pump his maw. Right?
There's loads of ways to take advantage of people without like sexually assaulting them.
And they park up in the car. They're like.
He said they want to park, and she's like, "Oh, there's like you act like I've never parked up with somebody before."
Everyone else understands what's going on.
I completely understand as well, but I'm just saying, like, that wasn't my first thought process. That's not something that I just instantly jumped at. Oh, he's going to try. He's just going to touch his mum up to make her angry.
It's definitely what was insinuated. It's okay that you saw it.
I disagree completely.
That's fine. You saw it differently. Didn't get so mad.
No, I'm not getting mad at all. I'm just saying I disagree completely.
I was questioning myself. I was like, have I totally misunderstood this? Like whole part. I just had the thought that he's going to hover in a car. It's late. They're at a dance together. Like they've come together and stuff. He's going to try it on. But I from reading that there, I definitely say that's what's insinuated.
But I mean, the mum obviously doesn't know it's her son, right, in the storyline. So she basically, she obviously is very attracted to him and stuff like that, right? Yeah. So if he thought that me trying to own my mum would make her think I'm a dickhead, when she obviously seemed pretty game for getting together with her son, obviously she didn't know it was her son, then that just never entered my mind. I would look at that as if like he's just going to be a complete dickhead to her to put her off him, and then George is going to come and then obviously save the day and she falls in love with him. Obviously,
I think it was more he was going to be forceful about it though. It wasn't going to be like a nice. He was going to be forceful. That's the difference I picked up. But I wasn't obviously thinking it would go as far as where Kyle is suggesting. That's the difference.
No, I
think it's where Daniel is as well. I think
we're getting away from actually like the point of the film here. We're just focusing too much on sexual assault.
I'm just thinking maybe the podcast name this week should just be a question: does Marty McFly want to pump his maw?
Maybe. I've got a confession here, by the way. Kept this quiet. I've actually kept this quiet for about a year and a half. A movie club. I've never seen Back to the Future.
What? Was this your first watch yet?
And I've purposely I've just lied about it. By the way, pretended that I've seen it before. I've never seen it.
So hold on. So you've never seen 2 or 3?
Correct.
Don't watch them.
No, ignore him. Back to the Future 2 for me is better than Back to the Future 1. Back to the Future 3 isn't. Eh?
I said I'll have my own thoughts. Kyle won't
influence. I'm saying just fucking make sure you watch it. Don't listen to Kyle.
Didn't watch Back to the Future 3. Put like True Crimes or something on, or Dark Crimes, whatever it's called. Put that on instead.
Oh, Jesus. Do you want to watch Back to the Future 2? Now that you've seen Back to the Future?
So I can come in a vote now. I'll watch it if it comes up in a vote, because this is why I like holding off on stuff now, so I can watch it for the first time on this. But
we'll get it on the next vote. Because it'll win.
So
just
for me, I was really excited to watch this because I've sort of avoided it my whole life. I never fancied it as a kid. It seemed, to me, it seemed childish. At this, by the time I was like 9 or 10, and somebody was trying to get me to watch it, I was like, oh, that looks shite. I was watching Terminator and that, and Nightmare on Elm Street as a kid, and this just seemed like a lame kids movie to me. And then as I got older, and folk kept saying, no, this film is amazing, and I just never got round to it. And then now, eventually, this time I started avoiding it so we could watch it in movie club. So I've got to agree with Burnsy, right? The first 20 minutes of this is kind of shit. Maybe the first 15 minutes with him in his house and all that. Like Burnsy said, see when he goes back and everything's different. I didn't even remember what the family were like in the first place, like his brother and sister and all that. It didn't have any effect on me really. I just thought that his dad had turned into a fucking cunt at the end. I don't know how that was supposed to be positive. I mean, like, they display at the start that Biff is a bad bastard because he's a bully and how he treats his dad, right? What's the solution to that? What's the better thing to do? It's better if you're the bully. So that's what happens. They grow up and it's the opposite way. But his dad's bullying the fucking guy. So I don't know how that's supposed to be any sort of good thing. But that was anyway. I did definitely feel that was very incest heavy based storyline, which was a bit weird to me. I think the thing that disappointed me, and this might be where the second one's better, because the idea of them going forward 30 years excites me a bit more. So I will be open minded to this, Sean. I feel like going back to 1955 could give you a lot of options for storylines and shit that was going on. And they spent the whole time with him and his mom and his dad in a weird love triangle. Which I felt like it was a bit of a waste of a time travel story. Do you know what I mean? And this again, I feel like the future one sounds like it's going to be a bit better. They go forward 30 years and they're going to be saving their kids. I like that idea a bit better than this idea of going back in time and then making your mom and dad shag. It's just a weird plot to me. But I like the wee interactions with Doc and Marty. I actually quite like, what's his name? Christopher Lloyd? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Do you know about all the things that he's done? I still, every time I see him, I think Uncle Fester for the Addams Family. That's just all I think. His voice and everything. I just see that more than any of the other characters he's played. But no, he was really good. It's a bit cheesy, but you expect that for mid-80s, I mean, so I give it a pass for that. It's exactly what I expected it to be. Huey Lewis in the news blasting for most of the first fucking 15 minutes of the film. Like, it just felt like you got Huey Lewis in the news, a minute of dialogue, back to Huey Lewis in the news, a wee bit more dialogue, more. And it was just a fucking constant. But it kind of lost it a bit for me when he goes into the big fucking guitar solo and that goes on for ages. It's like a full song. It's nice space in a movie for somebody performing a full song and like jumping about like that. I couldn't be asked for that at all. But I quite liked the bit at the end where he went to save him, but he couldn't quite save him, but he'd opened the letter, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of time travel movies don't do a good job of like closing off the circle of the time travel loop. And I feel like this does it quite well, as much as usually they're talking about plot holes. There's loads of things I didn't like about this, but I actually think the way they do that and the way it makes sense is actually relatively good for something that involves a car going to 88 miles an hour and going back in time. I think it's all right. The one thing that I thought was weird, when he first goes back in time and he crashes into the barn, right? And the folk come out with a lamp and all that. I'm thinking, oh, he's back in like 1900 or like 1850 or something here. Right? Because they're like, what's that? Like, I know it's a bit of a weird looking car, right? But then you establish that they've got cars. It's clearly a fucking car. Do you mean it's just a bit of a funny looking car? That was super weird to me. Like, is it a plane? And then when I saw that when it gets to the town, there's hundreds of cars. Like, why is it confusing for them? That annoyed me. But I found that a relatively enjoyable film. I feel like if I watched this at the right age, I would probably love it. But and I get why it's likable, and I think watching the second one will probably tie into that a wee bit more, because I feel like some of the more iconic stuff that I've seen in clips of this movie aren't in this one, so I'm assuming they're in the second one. So I will look forward to it winning a vote down the line, because I feel like it will.
Just watch the second one on like an Instagram reel or something like that. Just got the best bits in 1 30-second clip. That'll do you.
No, I'm going to keep it.
Anyway, I'll quickly give my thoughts before Kyle brings more negativity to the table. I absolutely love Back to the Future. It's going to have plot holes. It's a film about fucking time travel in a DeLorean that was made in the 80s. Of course, there's going to be plot holes. There's going to be things that maybe don't quite add up. I'm completely in disagreement with you about the first 15-20 minutes. I love the first 15-20 minutes. Everything that's said is relevant towards the future of the film, and when he goes back, from his sister saying that the conversation with the mum about when she said that boys shouldn't call girls, it should be girls that call boys, or something like that. And then the sister says, well, how am I meant to meet boys? And obviously the mum said that she didn't like Thingy's girlfriend. And then at the end, she's talking about how she's got 2 dates when the brother says, I don't want to hear about how many dates you've got. To the mum, obviously being off alcohol, slimmer. Obviously the dad's more successful. You can tell they've got money and stuff like that now after obviously how the future was changed by him punching Biff. I just liked all of that because it was all relevant to the first 15 minutes of the film. There's quite a lot of that throughout this. There's wee comments and it goes back to it later on in the film.
That is really obvious. I don't think any of us didn't get that. I just think that just made it boring because what you were doing is it became really clear early on that the stuff that's in his pocket and the lock and all the stuff they said in the first 10 minutes, that's just all the stuff that, oh, that's that and that's that. It's just so you could go, that's that thing and that thing and that thing and that thing. And it made the story really obvious. It was all going to involve those things. That was what I meant about it. Sorry.
Well, it's just because somebody said, I can't remember who it was, about how they were getting bored by the family talking and stuff like that. Was it Burnsy?
I just thought the first 15 minutes was boring. No, it wasn't to do with what they were saying. It was just the scenes were just. I think as well because I didn't know where the storyline was going at that point as well. Like if I watched that a second time, then maybe I'd pick up a lot more in the stuff. But I was just kind of like.
It's just that the ending part when it flips back to you see like what's happened after the change in it, like it's annoying because and Daniel touched on this earlier. It's made George McFly the bully, the bad guy, the dickhead, because you can tell with the way that Biff is with him, he's essentially flipped the whole script. Through all those years, he's then bullied Biff. That's all that's happened.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. That's Biff's work. That's his business. You seen the van in the background.
You see the way that he reacts when he's
cleaning services or whatever.
You see the way that he reacts when he's spoken to and he runs it and he gets like he's submissive to George McFly because of that punch.
Obviously, it's no the kind of bullying that we seen at the first part, and obviously when they went back to 1955, where Biff was basically flinging everybody about. Biff's got a job. He's in the cleaning industry or the polishing industry. It's on the van in the background as well. He's obviously spoke to him because obviously that just ties it in with the film how he was treated earlier on. I wouldn't say that that's something that needs to be picked up on or a negative in the film. It's just it just basically goes all in one circle. That's just what happens with this.
That's what we say. That's what we're saying. He goes from being a bully.
Aye, but like I wouldn't say that it's a negative of the film, is what it's been kind of made out of.
It just portrays the McFly family as being arseholes. For the start, when you feel a bit sorry for them because everything is against them and he's getting bullied and stuff, and you've got a bit of sympathy at that point. At the end, you then didn't really have sympathy because the script's flipped at that point. Where they're and not. I'm not saying they're directly the same exactly as Biff, but they've then got that upper hand where they're a bit more affluent, a bit more arrogance about them. You can be a bit of a dick to Biff. You can talk down, be condescending to him without any repercussions. And it just at the end, I'm like, oh, what a knob.
Carry on, Sean.
Nah, I just was to round off, like it's something that I used to love watching when I was young. I've watched all three of them countless times. Anytime they're on telly, I'd watch it. It's just an easy watch. It's got its humorous bits. It's going to have plot holes because it's, as I said earlier, it's about time travel, which is something that obviously isn't possible. So I just, it is what it is. It's an easy watch. It's something you could sit down with the family and you could watch it. It's just brilliant. I love it.
Next time you sit down with the family, sit down with your mum and reenact the scenes that Martin McFly and his mum.
That's just nonsense, man. Right, come on, move on. What a load of piss you're talking, man. Honest to God.
Oh, I'm glad that made you uncomfortable because it made me uncomfortable watching it. Hunter, let's come straight to you. Your thoughts before I wind you on up even more.
Oh, so I am probably going to fall somewhere in between Kyle and those that have been enjoying certain aspects of this film. I don't sci-fi films overly much, as we've discussed before, and I think having probably spent the majority of my adult life having never returned to this, having watched it a few times as a kid, I was hoping nostalgia would see me through it so I could enjoy certain bits of it, also enjoy more of it than I did, but I just find myself not really enjoying it. True story, fun fact this, I actually started watching Ferris Bueller's Day Off because I forgot that Back to the Future had one and I forgot the Ferris Bueller had one, so it was the time 10 minutes in. I was like, oh shit, I better check the Insta just to make sure what film actually.
That's a much better film.
Definitely. Kind of wish I'd stuck with that and I told you to just reviewed Ferris Bueller's Day Off instead. But I don't know what I don't like. I mean, obviously we've discussed the various plot holes. I mean, for me, the one glaring plot hole is obviously his dad is now emerged from the time loop as this successful, confident, loud, confident kind of character where he's kind of got the family, wants to dream house, whatever. But you got this. At what point would being this new, improved version of himself? Like, how did everything else fall into line in the same place? Like, they still stay in the same town. They still had their kids born on exactly the same days. He still stayed with them all after all this time. I mean, going by how he's been portrayed now, I think he'd be a bit of a top shagger. He's not just stuck with the. I know times were different back in the 50s, and that was your year, the life for life, but. That they always say, like, every other film you see about time travel, whatever, it's like if you change one tiny thing in the past, it can have a dramatic repercussions in the future. And this was just a tiny thing that they changed. They basically created a timeline where their son was alive in their past. To the point where it even, obviously, she says at one point, "Oh, Marty, I like that name." Obviously, so they've then named the son after this guy who helped them in the past, who funnily looks exactly like that guy. So they must have said. So we're talking about earlier on. Oh, remember him? They've obviously remembered him enough to name their third child after him.
Yep, yeah. I'm with you. I won't say too much more because I'm going to get shouted at.
No, I disagree with that. I'm going to jump in then. So, like, if they like, just because you like somebody's name, as Daniel said, if you've got all these people you've met in your life, and you like somebody's name, I don't think you're going to think, "Oh, remember that boy for all those years ago? Why didn't we call him after him?" It's just coincidence. That's the way the film would take it.
It was trying to be more subtle. I know it's got to sort of, to the bit Sean was saying earlier on about the start, it does kind of slap you in the face. It doesn't really let you figure much out for yourself. It tells you all the stuff it wants you to know. It's no subtle. I mean, so I agree. I think it seems maybe a lot bigger than it is, but in reality, they met a couple of times over the space of a week. And later on, years, sorry, whatever, 6-7 years later, that was going back 30 years. So you're talking 13 years after this, they can, and they just like, "Oh, I like the name Marty." I mean, I don't agree with that plot hole analysis. I'm on this. Sean will be happy that I'll back him on that.
I'm with you on that one. They definitely named it after him.
Yeah.
Maybe a wee bit, but just because fucking pernickety.
But I mean, just, you go back to the original opening montage, and they remembered so much detail about how they met back in the original 1955 that to have not remembered any detail about what was them getting together. That, like, they remember, as you said, it's not, if there was somebody who played that much a pivotal role in basically them becoming a family and having kids, like getting together, being together all that time. I mean, it's not as if you'd remember the person from back then. Like, they remember Biff. It's such a small town. They'd be like, God, like, it seems to me there's such a small town that if one person came in and basically changed the landscape of time, that you'd kind of remember it. Like, it's probably one of those towns where
you just think so, right? even if they do remember exactly what he looks like, right? As your son's growing up, you're not going to start thinking, wait, is our son becoming someone from the past?
That we met for a week.
Oh, our son looks a bit like somebody I remember, but you're not going to start thinking, wait a minute, did you go to the past and get us together like the time travel? Like, what are you expecting here?
I don't know. Maybe I just I haven't enjoyed the film as much as I thought I would. I went looking for.
Do you know why that is, Hunter? Because it's pish.
Because it's rubbish. But
Hunter, do you have any trivia that can maybe put my score up for 0?
I do. So, firstly, the film was originally banned in the Chinese mainland as the notion of time travel was deemed as disrespectful to history. So
wow.
The ban has since been lifted. It has the world record for staying at #1 at the box office. It was there for a full 3 months. So this is a part of trivia we touched on with the last film that we watched, obviously Boys in the Hood. So Michael J. Fox is actually 10 days younger than his on-screen mother. And 3 years older than his on-screen father. It's the same last that plays his mom. And the same with his dad.
Right.
So in the original script, apparently Doc and Marty were selling bootleg videos to fund the time machine. However, this was vetoed by Universal as they did not want to promote video piracy.
Better. No, those video pirates are bad. Get some terrorists in here.
Exactly, I know. That's it. Terrorist idea. It's like you go on these films. It's like, who was the flavour of the month for being terrorist? Either German or Libyan. If it's the late 80s, then they come in the Russians after it. It's just whoever. As America's got a bit of beef with, they're just a terrorist for the next batch of films to be released. So I know we kind of touched on like the aspects that are maybe wrong or allowed to be wrong with this script, but this script was actually submitted over 40 times before Universal gave it the rubber stamp. So I can just imagine how horrific some of those storylines we've touched on may have been in the earlier version.
There was a lot more incest going on in the 44 scripts before that.
And finally, Thomas F. Wilson is a really nice man in real life, not my words, the words of IMDb, who drew upon his own personal experience of being bullied as a child to help create the Biff persona. Now, if I can take one positive from the film, it's the fact that I think that the use of the word Biff must have been generated from this film. It's a word that we still use to this day. So,
but he in Scotland used Biff to mean like an idiot. Like, I think it is just a name over there. Like, and usually it's used for kind of big bullies in films. But we use it. But us, Biff means like idiot.
Yeah.
Or maybe we're talking about second timeline Biff.
Well, that's
bully Biff.
He's just the Biff that gets bullied. Maybe that's what changes it. This is going to be the interesting part, guys. IMDb has this as being the 30th highest movie on its top 250.
Wow.
I don't think it's getting anywhere near the top 30.
It's got an 8.5 out of 10 with 1.2 million people having rated this. Let's come to Burnsy for his score first of all, please.
A 3.75 for me.
Better than Boyz in the Hood, Jesus.
Yeah.
Daniel? I feel like if I saw this in the 80s and the hype and that, it'd be different, but it's going to get a 2.75 for me.
Oof.
2.75. Sean?
It wasn't as bad as I was.
So a 5 for me.
Can I just ask, Sean, you always giving it a 5, or is it because it's going to get downgraded that?
No, this is and if you go back on the work chart today, you'll see. I say to you, it's one of my favourite films. I just love it. I love the franchise.
Hunter?
Sorry for this, Sean. I just did not. hold up in the present day for me is I hope that it's a 1.5 for me. And I will
Jesus.
feel all the hate from Instagram on my neck already.
Well, I'll go one better than you, and I'm going to drop it down to a 0.75. So
Holy shit.
I'll take Mary the hit than you for that one, Hunter. So we have 5 coming in from Sean. I wonder where that'll put it on the leaderboard in total then.
That's overall a 2.75.
2.75. Sean, what's your initial thoughts on that?
That's far too low.
No, I mean, come on, this is not better than Cool Hand Luke. I'm not like, I took it like a man.
Oh, it's definitely better than
No,
that.
I'm saying I'm no arguing with anybody's score at all. It's whatever. Do you know what I mean? You like what you like, but in my opinion, an overall 2.75 is too low for this. That's why I give it a 5. So I obviously would think it's too low.
There you go. Well, this brings us in between Into the Wild and What We Do in the Shadows, coming in at number 71 on our leaderboard.
I do want us to get the second one because I'm very open. I went into this very open-minded, and I feel like I gave it a fair score. I'm going to go.
I can't wait to watch the second one.
I feel like Sean's very triggered.
I'm not. Why? I'm not triggered at all. I've been serious. I want to watch the second one. Like I'd probably watch it out with this as well. Anyway, I've seen it that many times, but like it'd be good to watch the second one.
I'm looking forward to watching the second one today, Sean.
Sorry,
I think, in my opinion, I prefer the second one. I think the second one's good. If I could score it higher than a 5, I would. So you already know what that's going to get.
Just get that locked in there.
I know. I'll score it less. I'll just give that one a 0.
Are you excited for what we've got coming up next week, Sean?
Not at all. Can't be arsed with it, if I'm honest.
Do you know what? Like, in all seriousness, I was excited to watch Boyz in the Hood, and I was definitely in that mindset, Sean, of I really can't be arsed watching Back to the Future this week.
It's just because I just hate horror films. I'm terrified of horror films.
The one thing I
get zero enjoyment out of horror films. It's definitely like one of it's not just these particular films. It's the genre of it. I just get zero enjoyment out of it. And people obviously do enjoy horror films, but that's just not for me whatsoever.
I'm going to predict that you're going to have a shockingly high score for The Shining. So I think what you think it is different to what it is. And
I see. I'll tell you what I think The Shining is. I don't think The Shining is an out-and-out horror. I've never seen it, but I get the impression it's more of a thriller, like a creepy kind of thriller type. It's not going to like make me shit myself and jump out of my skin and that.
Correct.
But this other one, like for a start, it's in black and white, which I'm very narrow-minded. I know I am, but I just know it's going to be scary and creepy, and I can't be asked. Can't wait.
Well, I'm absolutely buzzing for it. The Shining is probably one of my top end movies of all time. It's a very good book as well. It's one I'm very invested in The Shining, and The Lighthouse is something we've mentioned a few times. It's been on votes, and I've no idea what to expect. I've not even seen a trailer. I've not read anything about it, so I'm quite excited to see what that brings up, because when you see who's casting it, I don't know how it's going to be a horror. So this is what I'm interested to see of how that walks into. So that's the movies for next week, guys. We do have The Shining and The Lighthouse, which again, a black and white film, Sean, but it's less than 2 hours though, so it won't be too bad.
That doesn't compensate in this situation, in this scenario here. it could literally be a fucking 25-minute film, and I would still be dreading watching it.
It's like modern black and white. It's not like an old movie or that.
Black and white's black and white.
Fair play. Well, before we go on to spin the wheel for next week, I just want to give you guys an update on how we're doing with the podcast downloads itself. We are slowly approaching the 1,000 downloads, so we're sitting at 927 downloads, and we're steadily getting about 150 to 200 downloads every 30 days as well. So thank you very much for those that are listening. If you can please just recommend us to some people, tag us on some stuff on Instagram if you are following our Instagram as well, and if you've watched these movies, tag us and comment on your thoughts, especially when the scores go up for Back to the Future, Hunter. I hope we're ready for this. Get involved. If you've watched the movies of The Lighthouse and The Shining as well, either in the past or recently. Let us know your thoughts on them as well. So guys, we've got the wheel up on the screen for you guys to see. Is there anything that you want to get spun this week?
I'd love Sean's week so we can watch Back to the Future too.
I feel like I've not had many comedies. I feel like a comedy would be good.
Okay, well, I'll shuffle it a few times and then we'll spin. Let's have a look. I want Hunter to explain based on true events when that comes through. Oh, you're fucking kidding me on. You're kidding me on.
Here we go! Come on! Get it fucking round you, Kyle. Yes! Well, boys, it's no longer a vote, is it? We just choose our own film. So guess what 2 films we're watching? Yeah.
Back to the Future 2 and 3.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking twist.
That is brilliant.
Oh, so that was a test run, guys. So we'll just do the next spin now.
We will see you next week. Goodbye and God bless.
On the rest of I called that.
Jesus Christ, man. So, guys, I never let you know, but I'm actually off for that time period. So I'll text you my reviews.
That's fine. We can move it. I want you to be there for Back to the Future 2, so we can move it. That's fine. We'll move it.
Hey, I'll be honest. I'm actually looking forward to this because, as much as I found it, I didn't give it a terrible score. I relatively enjoyed it compared to some of you, and I'm excited to see where the next one goes. I like when a story ends. I want to see what happens next. Like I like the way they ended it. So I'm quite glad of that, Sean.
I think for me too, it's like if we watch, remember how we watched Kill Bill 1 and 2? If we wait till now to watch Kill Bill 2, I would forget everything that happened in 1. I know sometimes it doesn't matter, but I like being able to, it's still fresh on my mind to sort of compare it and stuff like that too. So I'm looking forward to it as well.
Well, that's spinning the wheel couldn't have been any worse. It's absolutely fucking dreadful. But listen, thank you very much for listening to us. We've rabbited on for a long time tonight, guys, so I appreciate this is a late one for most of you. But that does bring us to the end of the stream, so we will bid you morons farewell.
Bonsoir.
Just nobody breaking the silence this week now.
No.
Fuck yous.
Sorry you don't speak moron as well as you, but let me try.
What the hell is supposed to do, you moron?
It's a moron. That's not against the law.
Gun! You fucking moron!
Dressed up like Batman.
Because he is Batman, you moron.
What are you, a fucking moron?
You moron. Drop dead. Moron.
Whoa!
Up here, you morons.
Stepping morons like yourself. Me down, you moron! Hey, moron!
Bid you farewell and good luck, morons. Bye.